So as Adrienne said, my name is Tracy Emmel, and I have worked for Microsoft for 12 years. I've been a director of technology and a teacher and a trainer and a facilitator and a coach. And I'm really excited to talk to you today about the different professional development offerings that we have at Microsoft that can help you as you develop your own training business or can help supplement your existing offers, or as a teacher, a classroom teacher who is doing peer coaching, whether that's formal or informal. I hope that you'll find some of these resources that we're going to show you intriguing and helpful. So as we've stated, technology alone really does not have any impact on teaching or learning. And in fact, when technology is simply put into a classroom, they actually show declines in student learning when the educators and the students are using that technology effectively as an accelerator for gaining 21st century skills or making the learning more engaging. So at Microsoft, what we've done is really looked at a professional development model for both schools and teachers that is research-based, aligned to international standards for educators around the use of ICT, that can be scaled for those of you who do broad-based training outside of your maybe school environment. It's very difficult, especially given the monetary constraints of today, to have a professional development program that scales well if all the program is face-to-face instruction. We also really looked at how do we create content that a trainer can use to get a good assessment of where their learners are, and then individualize the training program for each of those learners. So not only is it going to be more effective when that intervention is delivered with that educator, but the educator is going to find that professional development more valuable because it will directly address the competencies in the areas where they're lacking. We also look at how we measure progress. So we do have tools across both school and teacher that can help a trainer demonstrate movement in their objectives. And we've also really developed and tested this with a very broad international group. So we do pilots in countries all around the world, and all of the content that you're going to see here was actually created in strong collaboration with educators, and in many cases actually written by educators. So how do we help students acquire those 21st century skills, which are so important to obtaining jobs in today's global workforce? Well, about 3 years ago, Microsoft partnered with a network of global and local partners and advisors from SRI Research International, OECD, UNESCO, advisors from different universities around the world, and we created this research study to really fundamentally answer these two questions. Does more innovative teaching help students develop the skills they need for today's world of work? And what are the specific school and system level conditions that can help innovative teaching and learning expand more broadly? Now, this is a very, very interesting research study, and there's a lot of information here. So what you'll find is the document that you'll be able to download at the end of this presentation will have a link to the full research, but I'm going to focus in really on what it told us about innovative teaching practices. And basically, the result was that innovative teaching practices, along with ubiquitous access to ICT, and that doesn't necessarily mean every child has a laptop or every child has a computer, but what it means is that there is access at the school site for students to get their hands on a device. The device could be a smartphone, it could be tablets, it could be a computer lab, but that was really the key. Innovative teaching practices plus ubiquitous access to ICT. And so when we ask, well, what does innovative teaching mean, three things really surfaced: student-centered pedagogy, taking learning beyond the classroom, and the ability to use these digital tools. So, attributes of innovative teaching include learning structured around the student and being able to individualize that instruction and really extending the learning to look at real-world problems. So learning beyond the classroom doesn't simply mean we go on a field trip to the science museum, but it actually means having students think about how they can apply what they're learning in a way that can tackle real-world problems. So this all raises a challenge, which is how do we support educators on this path of a model of teaching, where we have the sage on the stage, to one where it's really a guide on the side and integrating these innovative teaching practices. So the first thing we did was we looked at how we scaffold educator competencies, and there is a competency framework called the UNESCO ICT Competency Framework for Teachers. And this was a very collaborative process that was done with Cisco, Intel, Microsoft, as well as ISTE, the International Society for Technology in Education, and a number of other global consultants. And what they did was basically looked at 6 different areas, including policy and vision, curriculum and assessment, pedagogy, ICT, organization and administration, and teacher professional development. And then 3 different approaches, or you might think of them as levels: technology literacy, knowledge deepening, and knowledge creation. And at each of these levels, this group of global experts determined what are the competencies that a teacher needs to have in each of these areas in order for them to be able to be on that path to student-centered learning, to be able to be on that path to be productive as an educator using technology, and really understanding how education policy and the work they do in the classroom align. So you'll notice here on the right, I have drawn a line here between digital literacy and technology literacy. And that's because all of the competencies listed in the ICT-CFT framework are within the context of education. So if you look at this box down here, for example, digital literacy, and you double-click into there, all of those competencies are really understanding how to use basic technology tools within the context of teaching and learning. So other kind of digital literacy programs, including Microsoft Digital Literacy or the Microsoft Office Specialist Curriculum, or some of you may be familiar with IC3, are really outside of the context of education. And I also have a link to the UNESCO ICT Competency Framework in the document that we'll give you at the end to download. But regardless of what framework you have, because many are also using the ISTE-NET framework, really the point here is teachers need to understand what they are expected to know before they can really get on the path to knowing it. This is the reason we have student competencies. So it's really no different for educators. So then what you see here in this right pyramid is our Microsoft professional development offers kind of aligned to the UNESCO levels. So we have a level 100, which is digital literacy, a level 200, teaching with technology, with an optional certification offering, level 300, which is about 21st century learning design, and then level 400, which is coaching. And so what I'm going to do is take some time to go through, at an overview level, each of these different levels. And then when we hope to see you back for the webcast series happening later this month, the 3 webcast series, each webcast will actually go into depth and look at how you might, as a trainer, be able to utilize each of these levels in your own context. So one way to think about these different curriculums are that they can be built one on top of another, and you can start with digital literacy and say, okay, every teacher needs to show competency in digital literacy before they move to teaching with technology, before they move to 21st century learning design. However, what we know from trainers who have been very successful in utilizing this content is that what works really, really well is a more individualized and customized approach where you might start with teaching a particular digital literacy skill like using an Excel spreadsheet, but then connect that to a classroom scenario using a teaching with technology unit or topic that might talk about how to use Excel as an assessment tool or as a grade book to enhance the teacher's own productivity and give them back time, and then connecting it even further to looking at that teacher's lesson, what they're going to be doing with the students, and seeing how it aligns to these 21st century learning designs.